What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. So finally uploading again. Just trying to upload a little more often, but the reason why I didn't upload is because I was actually working on a bunch of stuff on the car, and I tried filming it a little bit and I got a few clips, but I was doing a bunch of suspension work and I was working in one of my buddy's shacks more or less, and it was dark and it was hard to see anything, and I had so much stuff to do. It was just hard to get done on the days I was there because his shed's about a half hour away, and so to get there and do all that stuff, it was basically I didn't film much of the in progress stuff. But now I'm going to talk about what I did, and so just kind of give you a breakdown of the main things I did. Is so close the door here, but the main things we've got done right now is I've got a lowering kit, new shocks, new brakes, did some painting on the control arms, replaced the bushings, and threw in some new hubs up front as well. The rear hubs I had previously done late last summer, but yeah, let me just start breaking it down as far as work specifically I did. So to start off, we'll start at the rear here because there's a little bit less stuff going on in the rear. But basically what I did is, so it's got new brakes. You can kind of see through the wheels here. Unfortunately, stock C4 wheels, not a bunch of visibility through them, but you can see I got some nice drilled and slotted rotors. The rotors I got were R1 concept brakes, and that's where I got the rotors and pads. And so I've only had them for about a week and a half, 2 weeks now. I've actually been driving on the fresh setup, and I think they're great. Like, seriously, like, they work really good. They're quiet, they don't make any noise, they fit up perfectly, no fitment issues. Like I said, it's hard to give a super huge review because it's, you know, only a couple weeks, but so far I think they're awesome and I've had zero issues with them. And that's what I got, obviously, all the way around. Just, you can kind of see them up front as well. You know, I've got the through the wheels there, it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, that's what they're up to. And I did kind of paint the calipers in there as well. Didn't look a crazy nice job, but they were red and they were chipped and faded. You can see someone did a junky job before, so I was like, I'll just throw a little fresh coat of paint on them in blue because obviously I like blue, and you know, we'll roll with that. But yeah, so new brakes all the way around. Kind of going back to the rear here. The rear, I've actually got new shocks as well, and so I did Bilstein shocks all the way around. They make a kit for the C4 Corvettes, direct bolt in, no modification, no nothing. And I think actually some of the Corvettes even came with it from the factory. Can't really see them in here. Let me see if I can sneak you in the other way. Yeah, you can kind of see them right in there. Nice little Bilstein shocks. Just kind of, like I said, only driven on the setup for a week, but it rides freaking awesome. And part of me doesn't know if it's because the shocks are so good, is because the old setup was so junk, just absolutely just so junk and clapped out. It was just, yeah. And so I got Bilstein shocks on the rear. Another thing I did is I replaced all of the bushings in the suspension components on the entire freaking car, which is awesome. Probably some pictures in the video here of when I was pressing them out, because we've got a press at work, and so when I was pressing them out at work, they were just literally obliterating, just falling apart, crumbling. And I don't know if I have any pictures of this at all, but basically, you know, especially when you talk about like the wishbones here, the little control arms that you can't really see them, but you know what I'm talking about. The two arms, there's one there and one there. There's just a bushing on each side. Basically, you know, they were just like the rubber had moved over time, and so the bushing, the metal bushing where the bolt goes through, was actually off to the side, or like, it, you know, in which way. And so it was literally like, I mean, over time had just literally moved off center. And it's ridiculous. I mean, they were the original bushings, and they were just absolutely just completely clapped out. And so I actually went and put energy suspension bushing, polyurethane bushings, in the entire car. And so I know, just to kind of talk on the energy suspension polyurethane bushings, or really polyurethane bushings in general, A lot of people complain about them on the C4s, and I was really kind of worried about doing them because, like I said, it's a lot of the comments I've seen, not comments, but the the Facebook group for C4s. There's a lot of comments about them not being super nice and having issues with them and blah blah. And I just was like, my thought process is, after, especially now after you've seen these bushings that I'm going to show you, is that it's just like, they can't be worse than that, right? Literally, no way it's worse than that. And so I was like, give them a shot, whatever. And they don't sell rubber bushing replacements for these cars. They're all poly. So it's like kind of my only option, at least I found. And to be honest, they're phenomenal. Like, so tight. Like, when I was driving the car before, you give it gas, you can feel the wheels move and then the car move. So now it's just like one fluid motion forward, Sorry, I'm jumping all over the camera here, but it's one fluid motion forward now. And so it's just way nicer. I honestly feel like the wheels sit in the wheel well more square, because they're actually, like I said, how the bushings were out, or the metal was in the middle, so it's like in the right spot now and all that. And you can definitely feel that it's, I'm sure it could be a softer ride, right? Like I said, I'm sure it's harder than factory, but at the same time, I want this car to be not like a track car, but I want it to really drive well. I want it to corner well. I want it to be better at that kind of stuff, just so I can enjoy it and drive it hard and do all the things. And so it's it's not gonna hurt me at all having a little extra. And like I said, I think it's great. I don't, as opposed to the stock old stuff, there's no way, I can't believe anyone complains about them compared to that. And I use the grease they came with, because apparently if you don't use a lot of the grease, they squeak. And so I used plenty of grease when I was doing it, and I just have ever so slightly some squeaking going on. And it's not even, like, with the windows down, you get above 15 miles an hour and the wind noise is louder than the squeak. And so it's like hardly even bothers me at all. And it's a 38-year-old car. Like, it's gonna make noise, so what are you gonna do there? So, but overall, I mean, the rear turned out great. Ride's super good, super tight. I feel like I can actually, spin the tires a little bit from a dig, because it's, I want to take off, because instead of the tires like lurching forward and then going, I'm just getting power to the tires right away. So it's pushing out really, it's just pushing, giving full power right away. But yeah, no, the energy suspension was honestly the biggest thing I wanted to do when I did this, just because I was going over bumps and stuff before, and I could just feel the whole car was just bang bang, throwing me around, and it's just like, this is ridiculous. And obviously the old shocks were clapped out. I think the rear had the original shocks still, because they were like the unmarked factory-esque shocks, and the front had some KYBs or whatever I think it's KYB, and they were blown out. I don't know how old they were. Obviously they're aftermarket, but I know they're a little bit on the cheaper side, and I've seen some people like them and say they ride all right, and I'm sure they do ride all right compared to a completely blown out old 38-year-old shock. But I wanted to spend a little bit more than that, and I don't want them to last a little bit. And I know like Bilstein's a good brand and all that, and so I went with them. And like I said, they had a kit that's bolted in, ready to go, so it's really hard to complain about that. But yeah, like I said, I did some painting of the control arms and stuff. You can kind of see them in there. You can see the rear one pretty good down there across the top. Definitely need to paint some more stuff eventually, but eventually I'll drop the diff and do some other stuff and paint all that, but not gonna worry about that at the moment. Front's a lot easier to see here, actually. You can see all the painted and the Bilstein and everything, and I even put new sway bar connecting links in there, down there, you can see, because my old ones, the bolts had gotten loose, and so what ended up happening, it slotted out the holes, and so when you'd hit bumps, you'd hear it clunking, and it was moving around all over the place, and it was just a pain in the butt. So yeah, definitely not ideal. Just to go back to the back real quick, I just remembered I did a lowering kit on the back, and if you know anything about C4s, the back is super easy to lower, because you've got these bolts just on the inside of the tire here, because the way the spring works, the spring holds the tire pulls the tire towards the ground. Basically, it's kind of the opposite of the front. And so basically, you kind of see right in there, I just put, all you do is you just put a longer bolt in, and that's it. And so that's what I did to lower that. I just went to Home Depot and bought a 10-inch, half-inch bolt, and it fit in perfectly. I know it's technically a 14-inch by 10-inch bolt, is what it technically is, and if you go on like Corvette websites, that's what you'll sell you. But for some reason right now, apparently it's hard to get, even though it's just a 10-inch bolt. That's all it is. But apparently they're hard to get right now, and so I bought one, and I'll probably end up swapping it in because this is a grade 6, and the other one that I bought is like a grade 10-6 or whatever the automotive grade is. And like I said, I'll swap it in eventually, but the one I bought said it was out of stock till September, and it's like, I'm not gonna go the whole summer without driving the car. So it's obviously I put that in there, and it's worked good. It's a half-inch bolt, you know, it's not gonna break. It's not like it's doing anything crazy. It's literally just a connecting link from here to here. So it's like, it'll be all right. But getting back to the front here, obviously, you know, new front brakes up here, drilled and slotted, look awesome. Painted the calipers up, greased them all up too. The calipers actually weren't seized. They're actually in pretty decent shape, but they were definitely dry. And so I put some grease in there, got them all taken care of, kind of freshened them up a little bit, and they were actually pretty solid. So, you know, it's you know, I was thought about replacing them and doing like, you know, upgrading to like the C6 or like Wilwood makes a kit, but it's a lot of money and a lot of messing around. And when I saw that my brakes were in pretty decent condition, and you know, being that rotors and pads, you know, even though I got fancy nice ones, they're only, you know, a couple $100, few $100, and so that's way cheaper than, you know, the $1,000 that it would be to do the conversion kits or whatever. So this works great, and like I said, they work great, like no issues. Super quiet. Like, I'm actually surprised. My old brakes, obviously being old brakes, they made a little noise, and these ones are just dead quiet and really just linear and smooth, and they just work really well. So, but yeah, new suspension up front, took everything apart and sandblasted it and repainted literally freaking everything. I had to take the bushings and press them out, and they were disgusting, and we had a sandblaster at work, so I just sprayed them real quick and repainted them, and I did a good job prepping it, and so hopefully it lasts a while and looks good. And you know, I'm a sucker for blue, so you know, having a nice blue suspension down there just looks so clean. Definitely need to wash it up. I've been driving, the other day it rained when I was driving a little bit, so a little bit dirty, but it worked out well. I didn't, obviously, you know, I didn't take videos of this too, but you know, I put a, no, whatever. So to talk about the front lowering kit, as you can see here, a lot of people do coilover conversions up front, and especially in rear. They actually make some kits to do that. I think QA1 makes something. I've seen some other brands that make stuff as well. I thought about going coilovers. However, obviously it's cheaper to just use the factory suspension, as well as the 84s require a lot more work. And so on the later models, apparently the shock tower is a little bit more spacious, and there's a little bit more room in here to do stuff, but the 84s are really tight. And so you can just see even like a stock shock barely fits in there. And so I didn't feel like doing a bunch of modification. You know, I was, like I said, I was working in a buddy's shack he just bought on a rental property and doing some other work in the parking lot of my apartment. And so to start getting into real fab work, welding, all that stuff, it's just not something I have the ability to do at the moment. And so I opted not to do that, and eventually I probably will. But you know, for a few years, a couple of years now, or until I get doing more crazy stuff, this will do just fine. I mean, we're seriously just fine. And you know, it like I said, it works good, it rides good, and I wanted to enjoy the monoleaf suspension a little bit before I got rid of it, just because I know it's such a quirky suspension and it's super interesting. Another thing I thought was super interesting about the cars is just being a manufacturing guy working in manufacturing facilities. It's nuts that all of the control arms and everything is aluminum, and I get it. You know, you want to be light, but it's just, you know, I've grown up working on pickup trucks, driving pickup trucks, and everything's always cast iron or steel, and so I was just kind of surprised that it's all aluminum. And you know, I'm not complaining by any means. Obviously it's strong enough, it's lasted all this time, but it's just interesting, you know. I'm just surprised to see that the technology and the metals and all that stuff was strong enough to make these tiny little control arms, you know, handle a giant V8 engine up front. Not giant, but a, you know, heavy cast iron engine up front, and still, you know, be able to survive and do all the things it needs to do. So just thought that was kind of neat. Other thing, the main thing up front was so I kept this, like I said, I kept the stock monolith suspension that runs through the frame right through there to the other tire. And I did do a lowering kit, because as you know from these cars from stock, they sit up a little bit. And actually, let me put the hood down here so you can kind of see, but let me talk about first. Basically what you do is there's mounting points here and here inside the tube that goes through the frame. And the stock spring, it comes with about this thick of like rubber and bushings and stuff on top, just between the frame. I don't know all the science behind it, but basically it allows the spring to kind of pivot a little bit when you know, obviously when you hit a bump, the end of your spring comes up, and so it's got to have a little bit of pivot room in there. Well, the lowering kits for these actually requires you to just shorten that stack of rubber. And so there's plenty of videos about it, so look those up before you try to do this based off this video. But basically, you buy a little replacement piece of rubber that's only like a 1/2 inch thick or less, and you put that on top, glue that on top. You cut the old stuff off, glue that on top, and then you rebolt it up there, and then it works good. The only other thing you need to do that is, well, there's 2 ways to do it I've seen, but you need, because the whole stack is significantly shorter, you need to modify your stock spring mount that holds the spring up into the tube there. And I want to say 84 through 88 or 84 through 87 came with a stamped steel one that's just like, it's literally just a stamped steel, like basically a strap. And so what I've seen some people do is they'll cut a section out of it, re-weld it, and then put it back up there. However, if you get the 88 and up ones, it's a cast piece of aluminum that gets a machining done to it, and it's got a pass-through hole on the sides, and so it's easier to just buy those, and at least in my case, it was easier to buy those, cut the standoff shorter on each side. I had a measurement, I believe it was, I think cut a 1/2 inch off is what I did. No, it was it was like 5/8 of an inch, I believe I cut off. And then I cut off that on each ear, and then it came with new hardware that was a little bit shorter, and then I bolted it right up, and it worked great. And that's all there was to it, to lowering the front. And then you just reassemble the wheel side the same way, it just, you know, just as you normally would, and then it ends up sitting lower, because you've essentially, the idea is you're picking the whole spring up in the car, and so you're just lifting everything up. And so it worked good though. Like I said, it was super easy to do. Once you get the old stuff cut off, sand it down, put glue on there, glue the new ones on, and then I bolted them in right away so that the glue would harden in there really nicely and sandwich in there, and it seems to be working good. It's not creaking, it went in easy, you know, and all that stuff. So, but yeah, let me lower the hood quick so you can kind of get the official view of it now that I've kind of got the suspension explained. Like I said, I got new bushings up here and there. I mean, it's like I said, it took like over a month to do. I had it sitting on jack stands for a month while I had the whole suspension apart, and if you follow me on Instagram, you can see some pictures of that. But it was quite the process. But let me get this hood closed and I'll give you the full review. So as you can see here, definitely sits a little bit lower. I wish I might have taken a picture of it stock height, but I think the front gap was straight up another 1.5 inches taller, and the rear was easily 2 inches taller. And so it's, you know, I got it leveled out pretty good right now, about the same gap, and the rear is maybe ever so slightly taller, but I think it'll settle down because it's, you know, like I said, the car has only been on the ground for, you know, a week now, and so I imagine it will settle just a touch more and be right where I want it. I wanted it slightly lower, but in order to really get the front any lower, there's some other little modifications you can do, like in the lower control arms of the front, there's a piece of rubber that the spring sits on. And I've seen some people remove that piece of rubber and replace it with some thin nylon or something like that. But I worried that I'd get a rougher ride and all that stuff doing that, because that's a little bit more aggressive, I would say. And there's plenty of videos on it, so it must not be too bad. But I figured if I want to go any lower than this, that's when I'll do the fabrication to get coilovers and do all that stuff. But for now, this is perfect. It's ride better. Still not stupid low. You know, I live in Wisconsin, and the roads are not nice. So I mean, winter beats the heck out of the roads here. So you got to have some availability to drive in not nice roads without having to worry about dragging my oil pan and my exhaust and all that stuff. So, but yeah, that's how she looks. I mean, it's awesome, nice and low. Not low, but lower. It just feels like the right amount of lowness now. Like, it's not like low, but it's what it should have came with factory, because I can't believe how you know, how lifted up these were factory. You know, they got a heck of a wheel gap from factory. So I'm glad to finally make it look as it should. But kind of rambling on here. Like I said, I've done a lot of work, and I'm trying to just capture that all talking to you as opposed to doing the work. And so I'm sure that's not gonna be the most awesome thing to watch, but at least you kind of know what's going on. You know what what I've changed and updated, and just trying to keep you guys in the loop as much as I can. Definitely got like 3 more videos planned to come out and some different things, so that'll be awesome. But yeah, that's gonna kind of wrap it up for this video. If you have any questions on the process, please let me know, and I will do more videos of this, explaining what I did or what I had to deal with or anything like that, because this was a huge project to undergo. You know, I did it myself, took everything apart, and I ran into little things here and there and goofiness. And so if you know, it's so worth it to do it yourself, because it's not an outrageously hard thing to do, but it's just time consuming and it's just intricate. And trust me, if I paid a shop to do this, it would have cost thousands and thousands of dollars for only like, you know, less, you know, for only a few $100s worth of parts. And so it's not a little bit more than that, obviously, once you built in some shocks and stuff. But to do the bushings and stuff, definitely do the bushings. If you have a C4 Corvette, please do the bushings. It's my biggest recommendation, because it's so much tighter now and all that stuff. But yeah, that's about all I got for this video. Like I said, let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll having some more videos come out this week, as I want to upgrade my steering wheel, which I have a plan for. I got to finish wiring up the headlights, because they got switchbacks in them, and so I want to finish doing that, as well as start working on some other stuff too that's coming soon as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and hope you guys enjoy the content, and I will see y'all next time.